everybody, welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today, coming at you with a quick video. Today I'm going to do an unboxing video of the product that's sitting behind me right now. Now this happens to be the Lee Breech Lock Challenger kit. Okay, this is a reloading press kit. It has the press and it has a few other items. So I'm going to take you through. We're going to unbox this baby and show you what it looks like inside. What you get. Now there's two basic kits that they make. They make the Lee Anniversary kit and then they make this one. The main difference between the two kits is the one that I purchased has the hand priming tool and the other one has the priming tool, I forget what they call it, but it's a priming arm that sits on top of the press. This one should have the hand priming tool in it. So let's take a look and see what's inside here. I'm going to pull these staples off, or open this box. There's one. Okay, the first thing we see, we look inside, we have a nice little package inside. Thank you for choosing the Lee Breech Lock Challenger kit. They give you a little card basically telling you thank you for the purchase. Okay, the next thing that I see is the owner's manual for the Lee Perfect powder measure. Now for those of you who haven't used this powder measure, I'm going to say two things. One, I believe it's one of the best ones on the market and it's the most inexpensive, and two, it feels kind of cheesy, kind of cheap feeling. It feels like it would break, but honestly I have two of them and they work great. Never had a problem. They throw accurate charges. It's one of the best powder measures I think that you could buy for the money. The next thing that you see is the owner's manual for the press itself. This will talk about probably assembly and things of that nature, how to mount it to the bench. Just simple instructions. It even gives you some instructions on how to reload. Talks a little bit about the press and the procedure of reloading. So that's kind of a neat little manual. Talks a little bit about the priming. Now this priming system that you see right here, this is the one I'm talking about, the one that goes on the press. This is not what we have in our kit here today. So you have that. The next thing I notice is the safety powder scale. Let's open that up, see what's inside there. This is the Lee safety powder scale. Works good. It's a balanced scale. Very inexpensive, very light duty, but it does work and it's very accurate. That's what it would look like assembled. Obviously there's the paperwork for it. One thing that they talk about is how you can take a little piece of paper, just a small, I forget what they say, 3/16 or something like that, square of paper, and you can actually put that paper that size into the scale and it will actually show the scale will move. So that just kind of shows you how precise this scale is. It's a very precise scale. It's a little bit difficult to use, but once you know how to use it, it's a very good scale. The next thing that I notice is the Lee Auto Prime XR hand priming tool. Let's take a look in there. Let's see. Take a look. This is your priming tool. A couple little pieces that you'll need. You'll need the arm, and you'll need this little lever thing here, this little part. This part goes up against this, and this would fit in your lever here, and you can kind of put this thing together. It's kind of hard. I'm trying to show you this without missing you. Just kind of fits together like this, and what you do is you put a shell holder in here, and as you push here, you see this little rod comes up. This is pretty nice. I haven't used this model. The model that I use is the old round one, but it works good, so I don't know. We'll see how this one goes. You get two squares here, and you're probably wondering, why do I need two? One is for small primers. I don't know if you can see that. My lighting's kind of shady here today. And then the other one is for large primers. So you have one for each size of primers. And also inside of that box that the primer tool came out of, there was some instructions as well for that. And it talks about assembly of the priming unit, how to load it with primers, just basic instructions. It just shows you all the information there. And then on the back shows you a picture of it, and it also has this chart here. This chart, let me stand behind it so I don't. This chart gives you a list of all the different calibers, and then it has a little number next to it. And this little number is the number of the shell holder that is needed for that cartridge. So, for example, let's see, the 270 Winchester. I don't know if you can see that. It would take a number 2 shell holder. Now, I want to mention that the shell holders that this auto prime tool use are not the same shell holders as you would use for your reloading press. Or yeah, these are the shell holders that are used for your auto prime tool. Now let me push this back and I'll show you a little bit further. So if I open up, let me see here. Bear with me. I just picked out a set of dies and I want to show you. Okay, in my set of dies here, I have a shell holder, right? This shell holder has a groove here that I'm touching with my finger, and that groove fits into the corresponding notch on the press. Okay, so this shell holder will not work in the Lee Auto Prime tool. You need these type, and let me open it up and show you. Okay, again, you'll have a piece of paper inside that is the key that tells you what number of shell holder you need in reference to what caliber. And let me just pull one out. This is what they look like. These are the Lee Auto Prime tool shell holders. Notice the difference between them and a regular shell holder that you'd put in your press. Okay, they're different. This one doesn't have the groove on the bottom. That's what you need for your auto prime tool. So it also comes with the full set of these, if you get the one that has the hand priming tool. If you get the one that has the priming arm that sits on the press, I don't believe this comes with it. Okay, next in the box, you'll see the Lee powder funnel. This is a really good little funnel. I use it a lot. It's good for anything up to 22 caliber all the way up to 45 caliber. So it fits a wide amount of cases, and this is a very good item to have. One thing that I want to note is when you first get this out of the box from the factory, you might notice that a lot of your gunpowder will stick to the plastic. So to avoid that, take a dryer sheet out of your dryer and rub it down with that, and that will help take the static off of the the plastic, and then it'll work a little bit better without having your powder stick all the time. So there's your funnel. Now you notice there's this piece. This is part of your Lee Perfect Powder Measure. This is another part of it. Okay, and it just kind of fits together. This is a very good little thrower. Throws good, accurate charges. And in here, you have a little bag of gear here. And what's inside here is a, let me open this up real quick and I'll show you. What's inside here is a hanger, this little piece of steel. This is what you would use to mount your perfect powder measure. You put a couple screws in, mount this to your bench or whatever, and then this will mount up to right here, just like so. And then you have the unit sitting like that. Okay, so that's what's in that bag. But this piece is pretty important too. And this is where your powder is going to come out. You need to thread this on right here. And so as you throw your charges, you would put your case up below this and then throw your charge, and that's kind of like a little funnel, if you will. So that part's there. You also have this piece, which is obviously the cap. Now this powder measure has two little functions. It's kind of neat. You can twist it like this and it'll turn it on and off. I don't know if you can see in there. You can turn the powder measure on or off. If I do it this way, you might be able to see. See right there, you can see plastic, but then when I twist it, see, kind of opens it up. So that's what it would do inside of your, when you had powder in there. When you're done, you can shut the powder flow off. So this is really a good powder thrower. I really like it. Very accurate. And you got to remember that these don't throw powder by weight. They throw powder by volume. So what I personally like to do is I like to get a weight that's fairly close to what I want my charge to be, and I'll set this to just a little bit below that, so that when I throw the charge I could trickle up to what the desired charge is. So for example, if I wanted 20 grains, I'd have this throwing about 19.5 or so, give or take a little bit, and then I would trickle all my rounds up to 20 grains. This works really good. Very inexpensive, and it works really well. So again, there's the mounting bracket and screws. It comes with everything that you need. Comes with all the screws, hardware, mounting bracket. And it's very solid steel, very heavy duty. It's a very good bracket. So now, wow, they put this all in one case, in one package. This is really neat. You have a deburring chamfering tool. So after you trim your brass, you can chamfer and deburr. This little black piece here, this is a primer pocket cleaner, and it has one side of it is for large primers and the other side is for small primers. That's a good tool. This is the lock stud that will go into your cordless drill, and this would be the cutter that you could use to purchase. The only thing left that you would need to purchase would be the appropriate length gauge for your specific caliber. Okay, but this is pretty much everything you need except for that. And that the reason Lee didn't include that is because they don't know what caliber you're going to be loading. Okay, but I don't know if you've seen me use this lock stud and cutting tool, but they work really good. And this little deburring tool, chamfering tool, is very cheap, but it works good, it really does. And that primer pocket cleaner does a great job. So they give you all that stuff. Pretty neat. And it has some instructions on the back that explains how to use it. So you get that. That's really cool. Now, bullet sizing lubricant. Now let me re-say that. I said bullet sizing, okay? I meant brass resizing, not bullet sizing. Bullet sizing would refer to people that cast. This is actually brass resizing lubricant. So a lot of people, like, they make those little foam pads, and you would put some of your lubricant on there, and then you'd roll your cases out. That's what this is for. It's really good for lubing your brass. Now we have a little bag of hardware. And this is the stuff that we need to put our press together. Looks like they include one breech lock bushing. Looks like a small and a large primer arm, and the hardware to put the handle onto the press. And this little guy right here, this helps direct the primers. Now let's take a look here. This is the handle. Solid still. It's not hollow. Solid handle. The only problem that I've ever had is the ball would get loose and come off. So a little bit of JB weld, put that ball back on, you don't have a problem. Another thing that you could do, another option would be to measure the diameter of this bar, this diameter here, and find whatever you want to use. Like say you have an old cue ball or something, you can drill that appropriate size hole and epoxy that on there, and you can have your own standard little ball, your own custom ball I should say. So there's the handle to the press. The last thing in the box is the actual press itself. Now you get this little hose. This is kind of neat because the hose plugs into the press right here, onto the body of the press. This stuff's all tight and I'm trying to do it one-handed basically. But as your primers would come out, they would fall into this area here and they would fall down into this collector. Now in that little bag of hardware, I think there's a little cap that goes over the edge of this. But this is a good little press. It has the breech lock. It's a nice press. Very solid little design. Very good craftsmanship. This little button is what allows the breech lock bushings to go in and out. They got this idea from the World War II, I believe it was, battleships. Now these two holes here that are threaded, that is for the priming arm system that sets up onto the actual press itself, and I don't have that because I chose the kit again that had the hand tool. So this is a good thick ram. It's got a lot of travel. It's a good little press. So that's my basic unboxing of the press. The only thing left that I'm going to do now is I'm going to open some of this hardware, and I'm going to basically just put the press together very quickly here. So bear with me. So what are we getting here? You have your large and small primer arms. That's so you can prime on the press. So if you don't choose to use the hand priming tool, you can prime using the press with these. I'll explain that a little bit more here in a second. So I'll set those aside so I don't forget. Piece of paper. Now, right here, this is the little cap that goes onto the bottom of this pipe. This just keeps your primers. So I'm going to go ahead and install that. Just like so. So your primers will fall, they'll come down, and this cap will hold them. And then when you're done, you want to empty it, you can either remove it from here or you can remove the cap. In either case, the primers will come out. Now this part here, there's a small plate here. This plate mounts right here. See that? It mounts right there. And then you have the hole there. And it comes with a small Phillips screw. This little guy. Take your little Phillips screw, take your press, there it is. So there you have that. So when the primers fall, again, they fall in there, they go down that little hole into the tube, and everything's good. Now, it's time to mount the the handle. So we want to put the ram in the lowermost position. Okay. Now, depending on the position of how you like your handle to sit would determine how you put this piece. So if you like your handle just a little bit forward, then you would put that piece like that. Then your handle would sit like that. But if you don't want it that, you want the handle straight up and down, which most people do. I personally do. You would put it like so. Okay. Now, I like a lot of leverage. So what I would recommend, and I'll get to this in a second, I'm going to take this washer and bolt. I'm going to lay the washer down right there, and I'm going to bring the bolt in, and I'm going to catch that little piece of steel underneath. Now, when I was talking about leverage, I like to bring this all the way up as far as I can to where it's flush with the bottom, and that'll give me the most amount of leverage out of my handle. Because if it was down low like this, you know, even though you could operate the press, this little handle, you're not going to have leverage trying to pull on it like this. But if you're real high as you can get, you have a lot of leverage that you can get off the handle. So again, I like to make it flush, and I believe that's a 1/2 inch bolt, but I'm going to use a crescent wrench here. You just want to tighten that thing in. Nothing crazy. So we're just getting our little wrench here and just tighten it in. Doesn't have to be gorilla tight. Okay, you want to just snug it up. Nothing significant. So there's your press. You're set. You're ready to go. So you have all the leverage in the world, and you're flush about right there. Just about flush. That gives you a lot of leverage. So when you mount your press, you would take your primer arms. I'm going to turn this at an angle here. Say our press was mounted, right? You would take your primer arm, and you notice in the back of the ram here, there's a little hole. That hole has a small roll pin that fits in that. You see that little roll pin in there? That's where this portion of the primer arm comes into contact, and it holds that primer arm. So as the ram goes up and down, it puts that primer arm in and out. Okay, it's a really good little system. If you don't have the primer arm in and you decap, the primers will not fly out of this little hole. In fact, what they'll do is they'll fall straight down this channel, they'll hit that little roll pin, and they'll bounce out this way, and they'll go all over the floor. So when you're doing your decapping, make sure that you have a little primer arm in there. Now what I used to do a long time ago is I would take a small block of wood, like, oh gosh, something like what I have in my hand here, for example, and if I didn't want the primer arm in there, I'd put a little block of wood in there, you know, just enough. This one's too thin, but you'd have to measure and find the dimensions and find a little block of wood, and that block of wood would let the primers fall down, but then they would come out this hole. So that's something else to think about if you don't want the primer arm in there. Now last but not least, let's talk about these breech lock bushings. Okay, these bushings are gonna work when it comes to setting your dies. Now what they're gonna do, and you might not understand, but what these are for is these are for once you set your dies, you can remove your dies very easily without having to readjust them. So I'm going to show you that very quickly. So I'm going to insert a shell holder. Okay, not the type for the auto prime tool, the actual shell holder type that's going to be used for the reloading process. Okay, so it just slides into that corresponding groove. Then you can turn, a lot of times you can turn, this is real tight because it's brand new, you can turn this around so that the opening of the shell holder will be in the direction you want it to face. From here, for example, the decapping die, I would, whoops, let me get my quick bushing here. I'm going to start threading the die into the bushing. And these bushings, they have a little dent in them in the side here. You see this little dent? This dent would go down, and then eventually, pushing this button, these would go down. Let me see, I gotta find that sweet spot until this little button pops up. So now you have the breech lock bushing in, and the little buttons holding the bushing. So now to set this die, I'm going to raise the ram all the way up, and I'm going to lower the die body down until it touches the shelf holder. Okay, from here I'm going to set my lock ring, right? Take a small set of channel locks or whatever you need to use and lock this die lock ring just mildly tight. Then that die is set for the decapping operation. Okay, so when you're done, you just push this little button and the whole die and bushing comes out. This die is now set. So next time you grab that die and you want to load this cartridge, you just push it in, boom, and you're set. This is very similar to the Hornady lock and load system. Don't quote me on this, but I believe Lee came out with this system first. See, so your die is set now. There you go. So that's a little bit about the unboxing of the Lee Challenger reloading kit. Again, here's a look at everything that you get in the kit. Generally these kits run a little bit about $100 or so, a little more, give or take a few dollars, depending on what time of the year you buy it, where you buy it at, because sometimes I've found that the day after Thanksgiving is a good day to buy these kind of things because you get good prices. So, but anyway, I want to say thank you, for hanging out with me and watching my video on this unboxing. I want to say thank you for the support to my channel that you guys give. Thanks for all the kind words and the comments, the emails, all the private messages. I really appreciate it. And as always, I want to say have a beautiful day, everybody. We'll see you next time. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.